Hey folks, this is Kalani. With Battle for Azeroth right around the corner, that means we've got a whole new leveling experience to work our way through, to once again reach the level cap and work on gearing up after that. For some, the leveling experience is a fun and joyous adventure, full of wonder and excitement. For others, it's just another hurdle to hop over before you can get to the good stuff. No matter which camp you find yourselves in, there's a few items you can pick up to make your travels a lot smoother, faster, and most importantly, more efficient. It doesn't matter if you want to stop and sniff the roses or read the quest text, that's all fine and dandy. And hey, if you want to take the scenic route to almost every quest objective, be my guest. Some of these items could even help you do so, but I think efficiency is something that can always be appreciated. So let's have a look at some must-have items for leveling throughout Battle for Azeroth. First up is something that should always be in your bags going into a new expansion. Honestly, I think they'll end up being disabled at some point in the future because they're so ridiculously useful whenever flying is taken away from us again. That's right, grab yourself a stack or 10 of Goblin Glider kits. You'll thank me for it later. There's a lot of verticality in Battle for Azeroth, and I mean a lot, especially for the Horde area of Zuldazar. There's plenty of other places you'll get a lot of use out of the Goblin Glider kits, but Zuldazar is absolutely bonkers. You can get right to the top of the Horde hub area and glide to almost any other section of that area. Definitely beats taking a flight path or two, and if you don't have the flight paths to begin with, well, it's a good job you listen to your friend Kalani. I know there's a few mountainous areas in the Alliance zones too, so in general if you want to move around a little bit quicker in the next expansion, Goblin Glider kits should definitely be on your list. I would recommend setting yourself up with an engineer capable of crafting the glider kits. They don't require anything special, so it takes almost no time. I actually had to do this on the beta, pick up engineering, pick up mining, get myself to the point where I can craft them, and mine up all the ore required. It took me maybe an hour to craft 15 gliders. If you buy materials from the auction house, that's going to go so much quicker. Of course, you could just buy the gliders outright, but I would do that sooner rather than later. Gliders are always a hot commodity at the start of an expansion, so they skyrocket in price. You could stockpile some early and maybe even make a good chunk of gold from them if you so desired, being a smart investor. Now, some classes might be scoffing at me. I'm looking at you, Demon Hunters. Who needs Goblin Gliders when I have wings? And yes, you have wings, it's cool, we're all jealous, but gliders get you around much faster than just slow falling. That being said, if you really don't want to put any effort into gathering up some Goblin Gliders, I would recommend having some form of slow fall. That verticality that I talked about earlier is still going to be a hurdle if you don't have slow fall, and trust me, being able to jump off a cliff without risk of dying is much faster than having to track your way back down the mountain the safe and slow way. If you want a class with a slow fall ability, gliders are amazing, but anything that can provide a method of you having a safe landing would be a good substitute. But jumping off of temples or mountains isn't the only way to speed up your travels. Water has been fairly notorious for getting in the way of a nice efficient leveling session, especially when we can't fly. Wouldn't it be grand if you could just walk over it instead of having to wade through it? Well, it turns out you can. Again, removing this particular obstacle has a few tiers of solutions. Your best bet would to pick up a water walking mount, and before you grab your torches and pitchforks, it's actually not that bad. Yes, you might have to get out your dreaded fishing pole, or you can do things the really lazy way and just wait. So the easiest water walking mount to pick up is still probably the Azure Water Strider. You can work on the Crimson Water Strider if you really want from the garrison. It's not really gated by daily or weekly chores, but it takes significantly longer to actually grind through. So we're going to talk about the Azure Water Strider because it's easy peasy. This one is in Mist of Pandaria, down in Krasarang Wilds at the Angler's Wharf. You need to get exalted with the Angler's reputation. The usual way to do this is to just work your way through the dailies available there. They each take a few minutes, and if you keep to it, you'll be done in a few weeks. That's the long, boring, drawn-out way, which actually requires some work. Thankfully, there's another way to pick up this mount, and it's significantly easier. There's just one catch. You're only going to have one more opportunity to get this mount the easy way before Battle for Azeroth releases. That's because the easy way is tied to the Mists of Pandaria time walking event. The next MoP time walking begins the week of July 10th, which is probably getting really close to the pre-patch event if it doesn't end up overlapping. The time walking vendor on the Timeless Isle sells tokens for each of the MoP reputations, including the Anglers, so you can just buy out your reputation with time walking badges. The overall plan is to obtain enough time walking badges to completely carry yourself to Exalted Reputation, which ends up being about 105 tokens from 0 reputation with the Anglers. That's 5,250 time walking badges, which might sound like a lot, but you actually have 4 time walking events between now and the middle of July, with the MoP event included. Burning Crusade time walking is active right now, Wrath comes up in a few weeks, and Kata comes up after that, so if you save your time walking badges you should easily have enough to buy your way into the Angler's Good Books, especially if you've been doing time walking for a little while and have some saved up. You can even use your Alts badges too, buy the tokens on your alt and send them over to your main. It will take about 70 tokens to get yourself to Revered, at which point you should go to the Anglers in Krasarang Wilds and purchase the Grand Commendation, which will increase your rep gains by 100%, making the trip to Exalted that much easier. Another 35 tokens later and you'll be able to pick up your super special water walking mount, so there's plenty of time left to prepare for the Mists of Pandaria time walking for a super easy Azure water strider. If you don't want to go through any of that effort, there's some lesser tiers of solutions which can still remove water from your list of obstacles. You can stockpile some water walking potions, or have water walking as a shaman, or I guess levitate as a priest, though you won't be able to mount up. It might not seem super important right now, but I'll be laughing as I trot happily over the water while you have to walk all the way around, or God forbid swim across. Next up is something everyone should have access to because no one has time to actually visit a vendor to sell their junk these days. You can either grab the Wrath of the Lich King vendor mount or the Mists of Pandaria transmog mount to save yourself a lot of hassle while leveling, and you'll never have to ask for a repair mount during raids again. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Now, one of these mounts will set you back significantly more than the other, so depending on how much gold you have access to, you might be limited to just a vendor mount. The Reigns of the Traveller's Tundra Mammoth will set you back 16,000 gold and can be purchased in Old Dalaran from May Francis. If you don't have the reputation to get the best price, you can also create a goblin, give it the 16k and get it to Dalaran to buy the mount at the very best price. That mount isn't really anything special, it has two vendors, one with food and stuff and one with trade goods. One of them can also repair gear, and that's about all that you should get out of it. Though I guess it can also double as a 2-passenger ground mount if you kick off your vendors. The Reigns of the Grand Expedition Yak is way more expensive, clocking in at 120,000 gold. It can be purchased from Uncle Big Pocket in Kung Lai Summit and comes with a vendor who can repair, as well as a transmog NPC so you can swap around all of your fancy wardrobe looks on the go. If you get a quest item you don't like the look of and you don't have this mount, it's going to be a long trek back to a transmog NPC to get that fixed. Think about the time you'll save. On a serious note, having a vendor mount is totally worth it in the long run, but especially while leveling. There's nothing worse than having broken gear or a full inventory right in the middle of a quest. 16k isn't too bad. I probably wouldn't buy the Yak if you weren't serious about your appearance or transmog though. The last few items that I'd suggest you try and pick up all come from professions in the new expansion, so you might have to do a little bit of leveling or make a few deals to get these items early on, but they're probably worth more while leveling compared to after you hit max level. You can pick up a Leather Barding from Leatherworkers, which prevents you from being dazed in Kulturas and Zandalar zones, which should prevent any rage-inducing moments of you being thrown off your mount while running through packs of monsters, and you can also pick up Stirrups and Hoof Plates from a Blacksmith. The Stirrups allow you to interact with objects while on your mount, and the Hoof Plates increase your mounted movement speed by 20%. So if you have all three, you can't be dazed, don't have to get off your mount to collect quest items and such, and you also go 20% faster. Not a bad deal if you can make a few friends with those professions, or have a few friends already who can set you up nicely with a few of each. You could also just grab the professions yourself and maybe hand a few out to your friends in need, then sell the rest on the auction house for that sweet start of expansion gold. I'm not sure how difficult these will be to get your hands on early if you don't have access to the professions, but that no days one is for sure worth it in my opinion. They all last for 2 hours or 8 hours if you're the profession which crafted it, so they could last through quite a bit of questing, especially if you increase your efficiency by picking up some of the other items in this video. And that's it. If you take nothing else away from this video except that Goblin Gliders are going to be amazing on the Horde side, I'll be more than happy. I can just see it now. Hundreds of people throwing themselves off the temple in Zuldazar and unfurling a glider kit to sail effortlessly to their next quest objective. It's going to be glorious. I'm really excited to see what everyone thinks of the questing experiences in Battle for Azeroth. I think this might be some of the best questing to date, which shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. They've been getting better and better every expansion. Now, if I could only settle on what class to play, I'd be a happy camper, but that's my list of must-have items for leveling in Battle for Azeroth. Do you think anything else should be on the list? Do you already have everything I included? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. If you want to hop on that train and grab a few perks for yourselves, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.